So while baseball was integrating this key part of American cultural life, the NAACP was continuing their legal battle to integrate, most of America. And the NAACP had decided, really, that maybe the best legal strategy was to try to make separate but equal so expensive that Southern Democrats couldn't sustain it. Alright, so for this to make sense, we have to remember several things from the last weeks of class, so let's back up, alright? All the way back to 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson. Remember that railroad case where the Supreme Court had established this separate but equal idea, and they had really redefined equal. Remember that Plessy had to sit in an inferior part of the train, but the court said he got to ride the train, so that counted as equal. And the way we had talked about this was that really existence meant equality. That had been the standard ever since 1896, since Plessy versus Ferguson. The NAACP, remember, had been organizing a team of lawyers now for decades, started by this fella, Charles Hamilton Houston, remember the World War I vet, who then became the Dean of Howard Law and the NAACP's litigation director. Well, now, assisting him were a team of lawyers, including some of his students, like Thurgood Marshall. And the two of them together brought the Gaines versus Canada case to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court issued their decision in 1938. The case actually has nothing to do with Canada. I know you're wondering, how did Canada come into this? They have nothing to do with it. That'll make sense in just a minute. Lloyd Gaines here was a black Missourian, and he applied to the University of Missouri's law school. The University of Missouri's law school was funded by the state, and there was no state-funded school for black people. So this did not meet the separate but equal standard, because there was not even an inferior law school for Lloyd Gaines to go to. So the case gets to the Supreme Court, and this is exactly what Charles Hamilton Houston and Thurgood Marshall argue, that this does not meet the separate but equal standard. And the Supreme Court, with justices, some of whom had been appointed now by FDR, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Lloyd Gaines, in favor of the NAACP. The court ruled that the state of Missouri had two choices. They could either admit Lloyd Gaines to their law school, or they could build him his own law school to meet the separate but equal standards. Now, is building him his own law school going to be expensive for the state of Missouri? Yes. So, the state of Missouri said, we'll let him in. They agreed to let Lloyd Gaines into the state law school. Great excitement. And then, before classes began the next fall, Lloyd Gaines disappeared and was never seen again. I can't tell you what happened to him because, literally, he was never seen again. But everybody felt like they had a pretty good idea what happened to him. The Klan or other racist elements had murdered him and disappeared him. And that sent a shiver through anyone who considered attempting to build on this legal victory in other states. And that was part of the reason it took the NAACP so long to sort of return to this. But we'll come back to that in the next video.